Welcome and thanks for joining us. My guest today is Mala Palutla. She's the Global Vice President for Observability at Splunk. Ms. Palutla, good to have you with us.
Thank you, Tom. Happy to be here. Super excited to share everything I know about observability with you and your audience.
And in the context of network operations, keeping federal systems going and free from attacks and downtime, this term observability is something new, I think, for a lot of feds. It's new to me, or at least emerging. So let's begin with observability. What is it and how does it differ from strategies earlier for monitoring and understanding what's going on with your networks, applications, and so forth?
That's a very good question, Tom. Observability is a term that's evolving in the market as an enterprise market category, as well as within Splunk as well. So what we believe at Splunk is observability is an evolution of monitoring, and Splunk has always been in the monitoring business. If you take a look on when Splunk was founded, it was founded on the basic principles of, hey, how do we troubleshoot when there is an incident? How do we troubleshoot, isolate, detect, and resolve an incident so that it doesn't impact our mission critical application? So that's the evolution of observability. Let me just kind of give you an example. Let's just kind of take a step back, right? Let's consider pre-pandemic, January 2020. If you needed to make a doctor's appointment, you just call a doctor, schedule an appointment, and in a few weeks, you probably will go and see the doctor. Everything was handled offline with little to no digital record of your appointment. Probably even your prescription was written in a piece of paper. Fast forward today, and you need to make a doctor's appointment, at least the way I make a doctor's appointment. I open up my phone, book a telehealth appointment with my provider's app for the next morning. And while I'm in the app, I also see the past test results, trends over time, health tips, etc., all digital. What we've seen in the US alone, the Health and Human Services reported one statistic that I saw the other day, a 63x increase in Medicare telehealth utilization during the pandemic. That 63x was roughly around 840,000 in 2019 to roughly around 52 million in 2020. That's a mind-boggling jump. Nearly every industry, be it finance, be it supply chain, has similar statistics during the pandemic. So what we're seeing is this explosion of digital and the domination of digital. So what's the implication, right? So why wouldn't a monitoring strategy be applicable in digital transformation? It still is, but it's just evolving, right? When you're dealing with issues in digital systems that have become mission critical, those systems right now just don't support your business, but they are actually a direct line of engagement with your customers, supporting healthcare, finances. I mean, I do all my shopping on my app. So when an app goes down, let's consider the telehealth app that I mentioned earlier, alerts go off, right? And if you don't respond quickly, probably I won't be able to make that telehealth appointment. But you don't know where to look for it, right? Is it a DDoS attack? Is it a poorly configured API? Is it a demand spike, right? Whether you manage a SOC, NOC, or a team of SREs, your core challenge are the same. Where is the issue? Identify the root cause and resolve it quickly. And that's what observability is. The needle to resolve and identify that issue has actually gotten bigger. It's not just a haystack. Now you need to search the entire field.
All right, two questions. Then the basic premise here is that because digital transactions themselves, the nature and number of them have really increased exponentially versus what they were just a couple of years ago, the criticality of this is much greater. And second, the nature of networks and applications themselves have changed as they become more virtualized, more containerized. You
Yes.
need a different way of understanding what's happening. Fair to say?
Yes, absolutely. And just to add to what I just mentioned earlier on the digital transformation happening across our customer base, some additional statistics, Tom. I mean, we did the State of Observability report for Splunk, and we saw like a 70% increase in internet usage over the past 2 years, 76% increase in e-commerce, and 65% of all interactions with companies are now digital. So that's the magnitude of change that's happened quite rapidly over the past 24 to 28 months.
And the word observability and observing are not exactly the same thing. You can observe something, but if it's opaque, then it's not really observable. So the implication is you need to do something to data, applications, and networks to make them observable, and then the tools on the outside to take advantage of what you've done on the inside.
Yes. So our promise for observability, or our vision for observability at Splunk, is three things, right? We want to be able to provide our customers that end-to-end visibility across their entire hybrid technology landscape, whether a customer has on-prem applications, hybrid or cloud native, or in between, right? The second one is, what makes Splunk different is we believe observability is a data problem. And using our predictive and AI capabilities, we can connect the dots and help identify those issues, hopefully before they happen. And all this, we believe, is built on what we call an open standards. And we are probably one of the founders of open telemetry, where it's an open source community that you can have full control of your data.
And how does virtualization and its counterpart, I guess not its counterpart, its advancement to containerization affect all of this? Because you're not looking at signals in the traditional sense. You're looking at container flows. And how do you discern what's in those?
Right. And that complexity, and it's not just containers, right? If you take a look at an application, the sprawl of containers in a distributed manner across different Kubernetes stacks, et cetera, has increased that complexity, right? So you need a technology that can actually spawn through all of these containers in a highly distributed environment and help identify, hey, your application is experiencing, an uptime issue, but where is exactly that issue happening? So that's where Splunk observability comes into play. We are able to go through those distributed containers and rapidly identify, isolate where the problem is.
Right. And just backing up a step, though, you need to know what constitutes a problem, and therefore what constitutes an alert that causes you to check out what might be happening.
Correct. And that's where our AI and correlation engine comes into play. So it is, okay, there is an incident. What's the context to that incident? And where is that incident happening? So with our data platform, which is a Splunk platform, we are able to get that correlation within our data sets to help identify that issue.
It strikes me we can, with these types of tools, move from an era of the alert happened because the network went down or the application went down or there's a buffer overflow, whatever it might be, and then you go try to fix it. It seems that when you mention AI and correlation and looking at this as a data problem, there might be a predictive quality to this, such that you don't wait till the red alert comes that the application is down.
Exactly, right? If you take a look at it, what are we trying to do? What is observability? Why is observability? Why is Splunk one of the leaders in observability, right? Our focus is to help ensure our customers' mission-critical applications never experience a downtime. There's a cost to a downtime, right? And the way I equate observability, it matters both to what I call the application development teams and the traditional IT ops teams, but also the security teams. So the predicting and preventing of problems, hopefully and ideally, we want to be able to predict there's going to be an outage even before it happens, right? For example, on Black Friday, we do see a spike in a lot of our retail customers, right? So we do know, based on historical data, how much of throughput they need to support the surge that they're going to expect on Black Friday. The same thing for breaches, right? I believe both a breach and an outage is critical or equal in terms of what it causes a company from a downtime perspective. So Splunk is the only company out there that has that unified platform for both security and observability. And we are hoping that with our data platform, we can help predict and hopefully prevent problems even before they happen.
And problems happen in a variety of manners. I mean, there could be a cybersecurity issue. There could be some other issue that interrupts things. There could be even flaws in code. So is observability applicable to the range of possibilities that could cause problems? I'm thinking that in terms of Splunk's original work in cybersecurity detection, but
Yes.
really there's a lot of things that can make things slow down or stop or cause bad experience.
Exactly, and we believe there's a convergence happening, right, with security and observability. And if you heard Gary Steele, our new CEO, our vision is to have that unified security and observability platform to drive that resiliency, right? What we mean by business resiliency is any mission critical application with our customers should have the resiliency during a pandemic, during Black Friday, during, I don't know, Amazon Prime Sales Day, right? Second is performance and availability of that mission critical application. And we believe the convergence of cyber and observability is happening as we speak. And our vision is to have that unified platform. We are leaders already in security, and we are driving towards that observability market leadership position with a lot of the acquisitions that we made. And if you've known Splunk was and is one of the best logging platform. And while this worked really, really well, searching event logs, we made it super, super easy pre-cloud world. We started with logs, but over the years, we've expanded to cover metrics and traces, right? So the Splunk platform works across, probably the only company out there, across hybrid multi-cloud infrastructure and at enterprise scale and flexibility and performance that you need.
And you mentioned you move from logs to metrics and traces, because many times the potential danger to a network from a cyber standpoint could be from a very small file. So can this get as fine-grained, and I'm getting a little bit in the weeds here, as being able to detect there's this small file here. Most of our files that are coming back and forth are this size. Now we're seeing one this little tiny size. That could be an alert that there's something that is a threat in there, even if it's programmed to happen 6 months from now, which they often are.
Exactly, right? That is our AI predictability engine that we have. And like I believe both observability and security is a data problem. And our data platform actually powers both of our solutions. So absolutely, with the logging data that we have, we can get down to the details of identifying, isolating, and hopefully preventing that, hey, there is a spike in this particular network or infrastructure device.
And in the reality of network operation centers and security operations centers, there is the issue of dealing with so many alerts. There's also the problem of false positives, and that can really be costly and take away attention from an actual negative or something you really need to deal with. And so can this approach of observability and this fine-grained logging detail abstraction, let's call it, can that help with the false positive problem?
Absolutely. I'll give you an example of a large insurance company. It's an existing Splunk Logs customer that expanded to observability recently to handle their mission critical. It was a highly complex microservices application, and this was a customer that had the application in two pieces. One was on-prem and one was hybrid. So this application was handling about 15 to 20 million web requests and generating about 8 million distinct traces per day. So what we provide is that full fidelity visibility that allowed them to find that needle in that haystack, right, for those error conditions, which they couldn't do with the previous solutions. I don't think logs themselves are enough. We needed to add metrics and traces to get to that granularity, correlate those metrics with traces and logs, and reuse that existing log data and embed it into that troubleshooting workflow. So we are uniquely positioned, right? Be it hey, it's a monolithic on-prem application, or it's a cloud-native microservices application. We have that unique ability to actually correlate logs, metrics, and traces to quickly identify and resolve those issues.
All right, I've got a lot more questions. I have the sense that you've got a lot more answers, but we're going to take a short break here. My guest today is Mala Palutla. She's the Global Vice President for Observability at Splunk. I'm Tom Temin. You're listening to the discussion, Observability, the Key to Delivering Highly Resilient Applications, sponsored by Splunk here on Federal News Network.